July 21st, 1861. Virginia awakens under hot summer sun. Two armies converge near Manassas Junction, untested, eager, naive. No one comprehends what this day births. By nightfall, 3,500 men become casualties. Innocence dies. The nickname Stonewall enters history. Imagine yourself standing on that hillside, watching blue columns march southward. 35,000 Union soldiers advance, singing, laughing, expecting easy victory. 3-month volunteers playing at war, they carry no understanding of battle's reality. Would you recognize destiny approaching? Could you sense everything shattering? Thomas Jonathan Jackson wakes before dawn, prays on his knees for an hour. 40 years old, eccentric former professor from Virginia Military Institute. His men call him Tom Fool behind his back. He sucks lemons constantly, rides awkwardly, obsesses over bizarre health remedies. Today transforms him. I commanded 5 Virginia regiments that morning. 2,500 men, nervous, untested boys mostly. We positioned ourselves near Henry House Hill, waiting. I felt God's hand upon me that day, absolute certainty replacing all doubt. My finger throbbed where the ball would strike it later. Support our channel. Subscribe so you won't miss exciting new videos. Your likes and comments inspire us to create more quality content. Together, we'll make this channel a place of knowledge and inspiration. Thank you for your support. Washington society arrives in carriages carrying picnic baskets, champagne, opera glasses. Congressmen climb hillsides for better views. Ladies wear silk dresses, twirl parasols, expect theatrical entertainment. War as spectacle, battle as Sunday outing. By evening, they flee screaming toward Washington, abandoning everything in terror. Confederate General Beauregard commands 22,000 defenders along Bull Run's southern bank. Reinforcements race toward him via railroad from Shenandoah Valley. Everything depends on timing. Will General Johnston's troops arrive before Union forces overwhelm the outnumbered Confederates? Minutes matter. Hours decide the fate of nations. Union General McDowell orders complex flanking maneuver before dawn. 2 divisions march north toward Sudley Springs Ford, planning to circle behind Confederate positions. Brilliant strategy requiring precise coordination. But these amateur soldiers straggle, delay, lose formation. Complexity defeats inexperience. The element of surprise evaporates under relentless heat. Signal Officer Edward Porter Alexander watches through his telescope from a hilltop. Sunlight suddenly glints off distant bayonets moving through trees. Thousands of them. He waves signal flags frantically. Enemy flanking left. That warning saves the Confederate Army. One attentive officer. One crucial moment. History pivots on such accidents. Fighting erupts near Matthews Hill around 9 o'clock. Colonel Nathan Evans's small Confederates force engages advancing Union columns, buying precious time. Artillery roars, muskets crack, men scream, fall, clutch shattered limbs. Both sides discover what battle actually means. Blood soaks Virginia farmland. Reality replaces romantic fantasies instantly. Generals B, Bartow, and Evans fight desperately against overwhelming Union numbers. Their brigades buckle, retreat in disorder. Officers shout conflicting orders. Some soldiers throw down muskets, flee toward the rear. Panic spreads like wildfire. Confederate collapse seems inevitable. Then someone points toward the hilltop behind them. 85-year-old Judith Henry refuses evacuation from her hilltop home. Bedridden, stubborn, determined. Her family begs. She will not abandon the house where she has lived for decades. War comes regardless of her choice. Artillery shells pierce her walls within hours. She becomes the battle's first civilian casualty. You see them now, don't you? Jackson's brigade standing motionless along Henry House Hill's crest. 5 regiments, perfectly aligned, infantry behind artillery, battle flags hanging limply in still air, refusing to break, refusing to retreat. That image burns into every soldier's memory. Stability amidst chaos. Order conquering panic. An aide gallops to Jackson, reports the enemy drives Confederates backward in disorder. Jackson's response chills everyone within earshot. We will give them the bayonet. His voice contains absolute certainty, cold iron determination. No doubt, no fear, as if combat unlocks something dormant within him. Two personalities inhabiting one body. General Barnard B. rides among his shattered brigade, desperately seeking any way to restore order. Men ignore him, running past towards safety. Then he sees Jackson's Virginians atop the hill. An anchor, a symbol. Inspiration strikes. He stands in his stirrups, points, shouts words that create legends instantly. There stands Jackson like a stone wall. Rally behind the Virginians. B's voice rises above chaos. Did he mean praise or complaint? Admiration or resentment? B dies from wounds hours later, unable to clarify his intention. History preserves the words. Context remains forever debatable. Legends require such mysteries. I heard the name spread through Confederate ranks immediately. Stonewall Jackson. Soldiers repeated it, finding strength in the metaphor. A wall cannot retreat. A wall cannot break. A wall endures assault unchanged. The nickname became identity. Identity became reality. Reality became legend. One inspired phrase transforming everything. Union Captain Charles Griffin orders his artillery batteries forward to point-blank range, confident their firepower shatters Confederate resistance. Guns unlimber on the hillside. Crews work frantically. Griffin's instincts scream danger, but superiors override him. Disaster approaches. Jackson watches silently, waiting. Patience precedes violence. The moment arrives. A Virginia regiment wearing blue uniforms advances toward Griffin's exposed cannons. Federal officers hesitate. Are they Union reinforcements? 30 yards, 20 yards. Devastating musket volleys erupt suddenly. Griffin's gunners collapse. Horses scream, thrash, die. Cannons fall silent instantly. Confusion becomes Confederate weapon. Captured artillery becomes the battle's turning point. Fighting around those captured cannons becomes savage, desperate, personal. Union soldiers attack repeatedly, trying to reclaim them. Confederates counterattack, driving them back. Batteries change hands multiple times. Men fight with bayonets, clubbed muskets, fists, teeth. No tactics remain. Pure animal violence. Pure survival instinct, overwhelming everything. My brigade absorbed terrific punishment, but yielded nothing. Men fell in rows, replaced by others stepping into their positions. No heroics, simply grim endurance, standing when every instinct screams, retreat. I rode calmly behind our line, occasionally raising my arm skyward, praying continuously. Bullets seemed irrelevant. Only duty mattered. A musket ball strikes Jackson's hand, shattering his middle finger. Blood streams down his arm. He wraps it carelessly in a handkerchief, barely acknowledging the wound. Just a scratch. His focus never wavers from the battle. Pain becomes irrelevant. Only holding matters. His men watch, simultaneously horrified and inspired. More Confederate reinforcements arrive via railroad throughout the afternoon. Johnston's Shenandoah Valley troops detrain at Manassas Junction, march immediately toward gunfire. Fresh brigades deploy on Jackson's flanks, extending the line. McDowell's numerical advantage evaporates. Union soldiers suddenly find themselves pressed from unexpected directions. Balance shifts decisively. Cavalry Commander Jeb Stuart leads mounted troops around the Union right flank. Flamboyant, bold, eager for glory, he orders a charge. Sabers flash, horses thunder, rebel yells echo across fields. Psychological impact exceeds tactical damage. Union soldiers glimpse cavalry appearing from nowhere. Fear encirclement, begin glancing backward nervously. Around 4 o'clock, Confederate commanders coordinate general counterattack. Jackson's brigade, having endured hours of defensive fighting, finally receives orders to advance. My command rings clear. Charge and yell like furies. 2,500 Virginians surge forward with fixed bayonets, screaming that unearthly sound. Union lines buckle, break, dissolve. Watch the Federal retreat begin orderly, then deteriorate rapidly. Exhausted Union soldiers discover bridges across Bull Run jammed with wagons, ambulances, artillery. Panic spreads like plague. Officers lose control. Regiments disintegrate into mobs. Men abandon equipment, weapons, wounded comrades. Anything slowing escape gets discarded. Discipline vanishes completely. Civilian spectators fleeing alongside soldiers amplify the chaos magnificently. Congressmen abandon carriages, run on foot. Ladies in silk stumble through mud. Champagne baskets litter roadsides. One overturned wagon blocks Cub Run Bridge, creating hopeless bottleneck. Confederate artillery shells the congestion mercilessly. The picnic becomes nightmare. Screams echo through twilight. Confederate pursuit proves surprisingly limited. Southern soldiers are equally exhausted, disorganized by victory as Federals are by defeat. Officers cannot organize effective pursuit. Scattered cavalry harasses the Union rear, but lacks strength for decisive action. McDowell's beaten army staggers back to Washington largely unmolested. Both sides collapse, spent. Night descends. 3,500 casualties lie scattered across farms, woods, hills. Wounded cry for water, mercy, mothers. Some lie for days before discovery, others never found, buried anonymously in mass graves. Judith Henry's shattered house smolders. Her body remains inside. War claims everyone indiscriminately. Innocence dies with her. The North awakens to shocking headlines: defeat, rout, humiliation. 3-month war fantasies evaporate instantly. President Lincoln spends the night receiving fragmentary reports, each worse than the last. By dawn, he understands completely. This war will be long, expensive, brutal. He drafts calls for 500,000 new volunteers. The South celebrates wildly, prematurely. Richmond erupts in jubilation. Bells ring, crowds cheer. Leaders proclaim inevitable independence. Victory at Manassas proves Southern superiority, they believe. Confederate newspapers print exaggerated accounts of Federal cowardice. Nobody yet comprehends what unleashed Northern fury will result from this humiliation. 4 more years await. I returned to camp after the battle, sought privacy, prayed intensely. I attributed victory entirely to God's will, considered myself merely His instrument. This absolute faith provided armor against guilt, doubt, fear. Killing enemies became holy duty. No moral ambiguity existed. I fought with Old Testament certainty, merciless and pure. Jackson's name spreads throughout the Confederacy within days. Stonewall Jackson appears in newspapers, official reports, soldiers' letters home. The nickname captures Southern imagination perfectly. Strength, reliability, defiance. Jackson himself seems uncomfortable with fame, deflecting praise heavenward. Yet the legend grows regardless of his modesty. Modesty cannot restrain mythology. Consider his transformation during battle, off the field. Awkward, socially inept, obsessed with obscure religious principles. Under fire, absolute clarity, decisive, fearless. 2 distinct personalities inhabiting one body. Peace confuses him completely. War defines him utterly. Some men discover themselves in combat. Jackson becomes himself only there. Confederate leadership recognizes Jackson's value immediately. Within months, promotion to Major General, command of Shenandoah Valley forces. His aggressive campaigns there during spring 1862 enhance his reputation exponentially, but everything begins at Henry House Hill. One defensive stand, one inspired nickname, one moment crystallizing character permanently. Military analysts dissect Jackson's defensive tactics endlessly. He positioned artillery prominently on the hilltop, infantry concealed behind in tall grass. Union forces focused on visible cannons, unprepared for devastating infantry volleys at close range. Simple, but devastatingly effective. Understanding psychological warfare, how visibility attracts attention, while concealment delivers killing blows. The Stonewall metaphor resonates beyond one man. Jackson's entire brigade eventually bears the official name, the Stonewall Brigade. 5 Virginia regiments fight together throughout the war. Their casualties prove horrific. By Appomattox, few original members survive. The wall cracks slowly, relentlessly, but never truly breaks until war's end. Soldiers debate B's exact words endlessly around campfires. Did he say standing like or stands like? Encouragement or criticism? Praise for steadiness or complaint about immobility? The dying general never clarifies. History preserves multiple versions, each slightly different. Truth matters less than myth. Legends require such ambiguities. Jackson's finger wound heals poorly, causing chronic pain. He learns to compensate, adjusting how he grips reins. Physical discomfort becomes another trial to endure stoically. Jackson rarely complains about anything: health, accommodations, food, exhaustion. Endurance defines his character. Suffering brings him closer to God, he believes privately. Pain purifies. First Manassas teaches both sides painful lessons. Volunteer enthusiasm cannot replace professional training. Courage alone cannot overcome poor coordination. Battles cannot be won by spectators watching from hillsides. War demands total commitment, industrial resources, grim determination to sustain horrific casualties. Both nations begin transforming into war machines. You wonder what Jackson thought that night, don't you? Alone in his tent, hand throbbing, uniform blood-stained. Did he feel pride, relief, nothing? His diary reveals only gratitude toward divine providence. No self-congratulation, no doubt. God controlled outcomes. Jackson merely obeyed. That certainty made him both brilliant and terrifying. Lincoln replaces McDowell with General George McClellan within weeks. McClellan proves brilliant at organization, training, logistics. He transforms the defeated mob back into an army, but he shares McDowell's excessive caution, inability to accept necessary casualties. The Union still searches for its own Jackson. That search continues for years. Confederate soldiers notice Jackson's eccentricities more openly now. He refuses to eat pepper, believing it weakens his left leg mysteriously. He sits rigidly upright, convinced one leg is slightly longer than the other. Strange habits for a legendary warrior. Yet his men accept, even cherish these quirks. Genius excuses oddness. Jackson's marriage to Mary Anna Morrison provides his only source of domestic happiness. She understands his peculiarities, tolerates religious obsessions, provides emotional stability. They write tender letters during separations. Away from armies, he reveals unexpected gentleness, even playfulness. War demands one personality. Love permits another. Both are genuine. The Stonewall Brigade develops fierce pride in their identity. They paint Stonewall Brigade on flags, knapsacks, wagon covers. When transferred temporarily under different commanders, they protest vigorously, demanding Jackson's return. The bond between general and soldiers transcends normal military relationships. They become extensions of his iron will. Jackson's tactical principles emerge clearly: secrecy, speed, surprise. Always mystify, mislead, surprise the enemy. Never fight battles without necessity. Hit hard where least expected. These maxims guide his subsequent Valley campaign: flank march at 2nd Manassas, surprise attack at Chancellorsville. Manassas provides the template for future genius. Critics argue Jackson's performance at 1st Manassas is overrated. He held defensive positions ably, but displayed no offensive brilliance. B's accidental compliment created undeserved legend. Fair criticism, perhaps. Yet later campaigns reveal Jackson's true capabilities: aggressive maneuver, calculated risk, operational creativity. Manassas provided confidence, identity, psychological foundation. Regardless of tactical debates, Jackson's symbolic importance proves immense. The struggling Confederacy needs heroes desperately. A new nation requires legends to sustain morale, inspire sacrifice, justify suffering. Stonewall Jackson becomes that symbol. His image appears on currency, recruitment posters, newspaper illustrations. One man embodying defiance. Support our channel. Subscribe so you won't miss exciting new videos. Your likes and comments inspire us to create more quality content. Together, we'll make this channel a place of knowledge and inspiration. Thank you for your support. Union soldiers quickly learn to respect Jackson's name. Federal officers study his movements obsessively, trying to anticipate his next strike. Northern newspapers track his campaigns closely. By 1862, Jackson ranks among the war's most feared commanders. One defensive stand launches a reputation dominating both armies' consciousness. Jackson's Valley Campaign in spring 1862 demonstrates abilities only hinted at during Manassas. He defeats 3 separate Union armies in 6 weeks through brilliant maneuver, forced marches, perfect timing. His foot cavalry covers impossible distances, strikes unexpectedly, vanishes before reinforcements arrive. The Stonewall becomes mobile hammer. During 7 days' battles near Richmond, Jackson performs poorly, arriving late, attacking half-heartedly, seeming exhausted and confused. Perhaps extreme fatigue from the Valley Campaign, perhaps illness, perhaps psychological breakdown under prolonged stress. Even stone walls crack occasionally. Lee learns Jackson requires careful management, clear objectives, operational independence. At 2nd Manassas, Jackson redeems himself spectacularly. He leads 24,000 men on sweeping flank march, captures the Union supply depot at Manassas Junction, then holds defensive positions for 2 days against overwhelming attacks. Stonewall's defensive genius returns. His stand allows Lee's counterattack to shatter the Union army completely. I stood at Antietam, anchoring Lee's left flank near Dunker Church. Union assaults came in waves, relentless, murderous. My lines bent but held. That same defensive stubbornness from Henry House Hill saved Lee's entire army from destruction. Sometimes holding matters more than advancing. Sometimes endurance defeats aggression completely. After Antietam, Lee reorganizes his army into 2 corps. Jackson receives command of the 2nd Corps, 30,000 men. Jackson, the awkward professor, the lemon-sucking eccentric, now leads half of Confederate field forces. Lee trusts him completely despite occasional failures. That trust reflects one lesson. Jackson holds when holding matters most. Fredericksburg in December 1862 becomes Jackson's easiest victory. His corps occupies impregnable defensive positions on the Confederate right. Union attacks collapse bloodily against his lines. Jackson barely needs to maneuver or improvise. Static defense, overwhelming firepower, predictable enemy. He excels at this. Fredericksburg resembles Manassas repeated with superior advantages. Chancellorsville represents Jackson's masterpiece. Lee and Jackson devise audacious flanking march, 12 miles through dense forest with 26,000 men. Jackson strikes the Union right flank at sunset on May 2nd, 1863, routing an entire corps. Victory seems complete. Then tragedy strikes during reconnaissance after dark. Confederate soldiers mistake Jackson's scouting party for Union cavalry in darkness. Musket volleys erupt from friendly lines. Jackson suffers 3 wounds, 2 in left arm, 1 in right hand. His own men shoot him accidentally. Subordinates assume command, complete the victory. Jackson's arm requires amputation. Doctors assure recovery, pneumonia develops, everything changes. Jackson dies on May 10, 1863, 8 days after wounding. His last words, "Let us cross over the river and rest under the shade of the trees." The Confederacy mourns hysterically. Richmond holds enormous funeral. Lee writes, "I have lost my right arm." The legend outlives the man. The stone wall finally crumbles. Jackson's death impacts Confederate fortunes dramatically. Lee misses him desperately at Gettysburg 2 months later. No subordinate possesses Jackson's aggressive instincts, independent judgment, willingness to accept calculated risks. Lee repeatedly asks, "If Jackson were here," but Jackson is gone. Chancellorsville victory becomes Pyrrhic. The Confederacy never recovers this irreplaceable loss. Historians endlessly debate Jackson's true abilities. Brilliant or merely competent, genius or lucky, aggressive or reckless, innovative or orthodox. The Stonewall legend obscures objective analysis. Perhaps he excelled specifically at independent corps command Lee provided. Different contexts might have revealed different results. Context shapes reputation profoundly. Jackson's religious intensity distinguished him from other commanders. He genuinely believed God directly controlled battle outcomes, that prayer mattered more than tactics. This faith eliminated doubt, fear, moral ambiguity. He could order men to certain death without guilt because God willed it. Dangerous theology, but psychologically effective. Certainty conquers hesitation. The Stonewall Brigade fights on after Jackson's death, maintaining identity and pride. They served through Gettysburg, Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor. Casualties mount horrifically. By Appomattox, the original brigade barely musters 200 men from 2,500. The wall finally shatters completely. Survivors carry memories, scars, pride. Jackson's legacy in the South endures for generations. Statues commemorate him throughout former Confederate states. VMI preserves his classroom, coat, horse. His grave in Lexington, Virginia becomes pilgrimage site. Lost. Cause mythology embraces him as perfect Confederate warrior, brave, devout, loyal, tragically killed. Legend supersedes history completely. Modern reevaluation complicates Jackson's legacy. He fought to preserve slavery, supported racial hierarchy, showed no moral qualms about Confederate cause. His military brilliance served immoral rebellion. Statues fall, plaques removed, buildings renamed. Historical context matters. Admiring tactical skill does not require endorsing purposes it served. Complexity replaces mythology. Yet July 21st, 1861 remains pivotal. One defensive stand, one inspired nickname, one moment when an obscure professor discovered his true calling. War revealed Thomas Jackson's hidden nature. He needed battle like others need air. Combat brought clarity. Peace left him confused. History required this paradox completely. Henry House Hill stands quiet now. National Park Service preserves the battlefield. Tourists walk where soldiers fought, died, bled. Monuments mark positions. The landscape appears peaceful, almost pastoral, but history echoes across these fields. On hot July afternoons, standing atop that hill, you can almost hear it. There stands Jackson, like a stone wall.